Thank you so much. And with that reminder, I will ask if my assistant could put my phone on vibrate too. So I don't feel embarrassed that I didn't follow that instruction. And okay, so as you know, at CCGI, we do have a very formal yet informal culture. So today's very formal proceeding is also going to have that very nice informal tone, and I hope that you would appreciate that because you are part of our community. So, hi Tonika, nice to see you. And to let Eva and Vashti know, we sent you the agenda, but we did not indicate which of our directors may be present, so I'm happy to see Ian John here with us as well. So, but our directors love us as well, so they're going to be okay if we don't call their names as part of the salutations, all right? So, well, hopefully. At any rate, we'd now like to formally begin, and I want to introduce someone who is very, I would say, near and dear to this institute, and someone who has truly assisted me and inspired me in a lot of the work that we have done here with the Caribbean Corporate Governance Institute. So this introduction of Faye Lopez Collymore.
Today's event is a very special event because it was shortly after the birth of CCGI in 2012 that the first code, Trinidad and Tobago Corporate Governance Code, was launched. It was launched in 2013, and it was one of the first acts of the CCGI in collaboration with the Trinidad and Tobago Stock Exchange and the Trinidad and Tobago Chamber of Industry and Commerce that set the tone for CCGI as a leader in corporate governance, driving good corporate governance practices and transparency and seeking to promote that in our country. So it's fitting. But my job is not to speak to you about this. My job is really to usher in and usher out. So I want to start by ushering in the chairman of CCGI, Nigel, well known to everybody, who has been our steward at CCGI since January 2020.
Good morning. It's really good to see all these very important people and very committed people dedicated to good governance in Trinidad and Tobago. Welcome to the launch of the 2024 Trinidad and Tobago Corporate Governance Code. Today marks the culmination of almost 2 years of dedicated work and collaboration by the members of the working committee who agreed to serve in January 2023. Our hope at the Institute is that this launch will provide the impetus for the continued strengthening of governance practices across our nation. The 2024 code builds upon the foundation laid by the original governance code first published in 2013. Ronnie Bissessar, SC, chairman of the working committee and one of CCGI's founding members, will explain further when he delivers the feature address later this morning. I want to emphasize that corporate governance codes are voluntary frameworks. They are not legally binding, but they provide invaluable guidance to organizations as they develop policies and practices to better achieve their purpose, aligned with their core values as they strive to create value for their stakeholders, while capturing enough of that value to sustain their operations and grow. It is our expectation that boards across Trinidad and Tobago will take the time to consider the principles in the code and use them to develop and implement their governance strategies. An essential aspect of the code is the comply or explain principle, which acknowledges the flexibility afforded to companies that choose to adopt the code. While adherence to the code is not mandatory, we encourage transparency. If a company finds it necessary to deviate from any of the guidelines, We ask that they provide clear and thoughtful explanations for their decisions. This approach allows each organization to operate in a way that best suits its unique circumstances while upholding the principles of good governance. Although it is considered best practice to revise governance codes every 3 years, this update has been a long time coming. I am grateful that we have completed the first revision as a result of the tireless efforts and unwavering commitment of our partners and the stakeholders. I would like to thank our partners in this project since inception in 2013 for their continued support. The Trinidad and Tobago Stock Exchange and its Chief Executive Officer, Ms. Eva Mitchell, and the Trinidad and Tobago Chamber of Industry and Commerce and its Chief Operations Officer, Ms. Michelle Sweet. We could not have done this without you. And we certainly could not have done this without the driving force of our own Chief Executive Officer, Ms. Kamla Rampersad de Silva. She's a force of nature. Kamla, your dynamic leadership has transformed the Caribbean Corporate Governance Institute, taking it to new heights, and your efforts have been critical to making this project a reality. I also want to thank Ms. Faye Lopez Collymore, Chair of the Steering Committee, and a long-serving director and member of the CCGI for her hard work. And we look forward to her continued guidance as we move into the next phase of this journey, promoting adoption of the 2024 Code. I'm also indebted to the Chairman of the Working Committee, Mr. Ronnie Bissessar, and the 14 members. Ronnie, as a founding member and former chair of the CCGI, your leadership and wise counsel have guided us throughout this process. Thank you for your vision and steadfast support. Ronnie was ably assisted by the 14 members of our working committee. Francis Bain Cumberbatch, Chief Legal and External Affairs Officer of the Answer McCall Group of Companies. Lindy Joy Balatal, General Counsel and Group Corporate Secretary for Citizens Bank Limited. Dawn Callender, Chairman of the Board of Commissioners, Regulated Industries Commission. Franca Costello, Director, Lifetime Roofing. Wayne Das, Consultant. Peter Gantum, I don't think Peter is with us, unfortunately. Former Chief Executive Officer of Guardian Holdings. Stacey Ann Goulding, Executive Chairman, SN Golden Financial Services Limited. Chandradat Maraj, Chief Financial Officer, Tati Life. Daniela O'Connor, Consultant. Jacqueline Kwamena, Governance Consultant and Independent Director. Denise Narayan Singh, Group Legal Manager, TCL. Ravi Rajkumar, Head of Chambers, Invictus. Paula Rajkumar Singh, Director, Amaranth Business Solutions Limited. And Inez Sinanan, Director, Trinidad and Tobago International Financial Center. Thank you, thank you, thank you. The long hours volunteered for this project, driven by your passion for improving governance standards in Trinidad and Tobago, have not gone unnoticed. Your dedication to ensuring that this code truly reflects best practices has been inspiring, and it is through your collective efforts that we have been able to reach this important milestone. Thank you for your tireless work and your belief in the importance of good governance for the betterment of our society. The draft of this code was submitted in October 2023, and we engaged in a consultation process during the early months of this year, 2024, following which the Working Committee met in June to consider the feedback. Therefore, the revised code takes into account the views of many of our stakeholders in Trinidad and Tobago. Firstly, I must acknowledge Saron Bailey, who has provided vital project support, helping to ensure that every aspect of this project was executed smoothly. Thank you. As a token of our gratitude, I am pleased to share that the members of the working and steering committees will be presented today with an autographed copy of the corporate revolutionary, Mervyn King's Life in Law, Business and Governance. You see the books? I think they were outside. The book is hot off the press, and it was only published, I think, last month. It details the life of one of the world's foremost thought leaders in governance, Professor Mervyn King, and serves as an inspiration and as a reminder of the power of principled leadership. Our CEO, Kamla, personally arranged for these copies to be autographed for each of you by Professor King himself and shipped from South Africa, a gesture that reflects her dedication and also the depth of CCGI's appreciation for your hard work. The CCGI continues to play a pivotal role in promoting good governance practices across the region through education, networking, and collaboration. The Institute has been at the forefront of efforts to elevate corporate governance standards, ensuring that companies are well equipped with up-to-date knowledge to navigate challenges and build sustainable futures. Under Kamla's leadership, we have been providing essential training on core issues in governance, building awareness on evolving concerns through exciting panel discussions and conferences, including our signature event, Governance Week, and the annual Global Conference on Corporate Governance. We have had the pleasure of hearing from experts, including some of the world's best minds in governance, like Professor Mervyn King, who spearheaded the King's reports in South Africa and spawned a global revolution in governance with a focus on sustainability. Professor John Elkington, our opening keynote at Governance Week this year, whose work on the triple bottom line, people, planet, and profit, has guided boardrooms across the world. And we are humbled to have the continued support of Professor Bob Garrett, author of the influential book, The Fish Rots from the Head, who was the inaugural keynote 5 years ago and is now our global ambassador. You should note that our 5th annual global conference on corporate governance will be held online on Tuesday, November 5th, and Wednesday, November 6th. That's about in 2 weeks. The theme is Governance of Small States, Creating a Brave and Sustainable Future. And we are thrilled to announce that the keynote address will be delivered by the former president of Armenia, Mr. Arman Sarkisian. President Sarkisian wrote a hugely inspiring book entitled The Small States Club, How Small, Smart States Can Save the World, which was published in January this year. It is a call to action for small states to leverage their inherent strengths and a critique of the global bias towards larger powers. The book emphasizes that small states have developed strong survival instincts due to their historical vulnerability, and argues that smallness can be a strength, as small states are often more agile and adaptable compared to their larger counterparts. It offers a hopeful vision where small states can play a significant role in shaping a more stable and cooperative world order. We in the Caribbean can learn a lot from him, and so we are very pleased that he has agreed to join us for the conference. He will be joined by panelists from 14 countries: Singapore, Botswana, the United Arab Emirates, Switzerland, Ireland, and Armenia, all mentioned in his book, as well as contributors from the UK, the USA, and here in the region: Belize, Jamaica, Guyana, Barbados, St. Kitts, and of course, Trinidad and Tobago. We are a non-profit membership organization And we would not be here today without the support of our members who come from countries across the region. At present, the majority are from Trinidad and Tobago, but we also have members from Barbados, Belize, Jamaica, Guyana, Grenada, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, St. Lucia, St. Martin, and the British Virgin Islands. Thank you. Particularly those organizations that hold bundle memberships with us and who support our events through sponsorship from time to time. Your continued partnership and commitment continues to be crucial to the achievement of our purpose and realization of our current mission. At present, 22 organizations pay for membership of their boards and senior executives, separated into gold, silver, and bronze, in which organizations pay for 12, 9, or 6 members respectively. We have 7 gold members: Republic Bank, Scotia Bank, First Citizens Bank, JMMB Group, Colonial Life Insurance, and the PSCU Credit Union in Trinidad and Tobago. 5 silver members: Angostura, Trident Trust BVI Limited, Massey Machinery, Bliss Safety Store, and Republic Bank's Eastern Caribbean Directors. And 10 bronze members: Guardian Holdings, Barbados Stock Exchange, Beacon Insurance, Massey Holdings, PwC, and Simacal, and the National Entrepreneurship Development Company, NEDCO, Aegis Business Solutions, TOSL Engineering, and GA Rowe and Sons from Belize. We also have one non-profit organizational member, the Human Resources Management Association of Trinidad and Tobago. I want to acknowledge and thank our longest-serving members who have been with us since inception in 2013. Guardian Holdings Limited, the Barbados Stock Exchange, and Beacon Insurance Company Limited. We continue to grow, and the memberships of another 3 organizations are currently being processed: the Civil Aviation Authority of Trinidad and Tobago, UNIPET, and the Guyana National Shipping Company. When we add those persons who pay for their individual memberships, we are happy to report that the CCGI has 312 persons who belong to the organization from across the region. We have crossed the target of 300 members, which we had set for ourselves this year. As we move forward, our aim is not just to launch a document today, but to inspire change and action. We want this code to be a living, breathing document that helps organizations across Trinidad and Tobago to enhance their governance practices. We believe that by embracing these principles, companies can become more successful and contribute to the sustainable growth of our economy and the society as a whole. Thank you all for being here today and for your continued support as we take this important step together. Let's work to make corporate governance in Trinidad and Tobago world-class as we aspire to greatness. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much, Nigel, for that very inspiring address and recounting some of the achievements of CCGI and particularly our new leadership, our more recent leadership of Kamla. We're going to pause at this moment and take the opportunity to formally present the tokens of appreciation to the members of the working group and the steering committee. So we were going to ask Nigel to come back up and give us a hand with that exercise. Thank you, Nigel. So I'll call out your names, and as I call them out, I'd appreciate if you come up and receive your token. Nigel can stay there, right? Great. So first we'll ask Francis Bain Cumberbatch. Dawn Calendar. Franca Costello. Mr. Wayne Das. Chandradath Miraj. Daniela O'Connor. Jacqueline Kwamina. Inez Sinanan. I think that's all who are present with us.
That's it?
Those who are present, we go to the steering committee next, I think, if we've. So we'd like to invite the chairman of the working group and member of the steering committee, Mr. Ronnie Bissessar, SC. No, you're going to we're not finished with you. Ms. Ava Mitchell. Ms. Michelle Sweet. Mrs. Kamla Rampersad Silva. Saron Bailey. Yes.
So if I may call the next two names, Faye Lopez Collymore. And Mr. Nigel Romano.
Very good. Thank you very much, Chairman, and special thanks once again to the members of the working group, the volunteers who worked so hard and made the special contributions to bring us where we are here today. As we move on with the proceedings, it's my pleasure to introduce Ms. Ava Mitchell, Chief Executive Officer of the Trinidad and Tobago Stock Exchange. Ava has 19 years experience in various areas of financial services, such as finance, asset management, retail and commercial banking and brokerage services, and was appointed to her current position as the CEO of the Stock Exchange in April 2021. My pleasure to hand over to you.
Morning, everyone. Morning, everyone. All protocols observed. I know we're trying to keep it as informal as ever. So I'll be 5 minutes, no longer than that. It's a pleasure to be here this morning. The Trinidad and Tobago Stock Exchange continues to play a key role in the development of a revised corporate governance code for Trinidad and Tobago, in collaboration with our esteemed partners, the Trinidad and Tobago Chamber of Industry, of Commerce, and the Caribbean Corporate Governance Institute. This marks the first significant update to the 2013 Corporate Governance Code and represents a long-awaited step forward that aligns our governance practices with international best standards. I would like to extend my heartfelt appreciation to the Working Committee, led by Mr. Ronnie, Bissessar, SC, and the dedicated team at the Caribbean Corporate Governance Institute under the stellar leadership of Mrs. Kamla Rampersad de Silva. The development of this corporate governance code involved extensive consultation and discussions via phone and otherwise, formal and informal, right, Kamla? And it brings me great pleasure to participate in its launch today. The Stock Exchange took on a central role in shaping the new corporate governance code because we believe that this code is essential in enhancing our vital role in the development of our capital markets. Stock exchanges promote transparency, accountability, and good ethical conduct through fair public trading of securities and effective price discovery. When codes like this are adopted and implemented by our market participants, they significantly bolster the functioning of a world-class stock exchange, and that's where we're heading, right? From the stock exchange's perspective, this new governance code, when adopted, will, 1, enhance investor confidence. When companies adhere to established codes, investors feel more secure about the integrity of financial reporting and decision-making processes. Number 2, it engenders a culture of compliance. With an express code of corporate governance, firms maintain a level of governance supportive of a stable investment environment. 3, it encourages stakeholder engagement with various stakeholders, including employees, customers, and the community should be regular in order to meet the spirit of the corporate governance code. Positive and transparent engagement by listed companies with its stakeholders will also enhance its reputation and visibility. And number 4, it helps in mitigating risks and building resilience. This revised code put emerging risks such as ESG and HR risk center stage, so adopting it ensures that the company can better navigate the complexities of today's landscape. The key objective after this launch would be the adoption of the code by its market participants. The stock exchange has been engaging potential market participants, particularly in the listing on our small and medium enterprise markets. So potential participants may find that the implementation of this code will propel them closer to listing on the stock exchange and reaping the benefits of publicly traded companies. In closing, I encourage each of you to review the code closely, engage with your boards, and take the necessary steps for adoption. With the adoption of this code by corporations, we expect continued improvement in governance and business practices that will raise the bar for corporate governance across our entire business community and will support the growth of our lovely Trinidad and Tobago. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Eva. And let me now ask Ms. Vashti Guyadeen to join us up here. Vashti was recently appointed as the CEO of the Trinidad and Tobago Chamber of Industry and Commerce, possesses an illustrious career spanning over 2 decades in research and development, policy design, SME development, global and institutional competitiveness, and international relations. Vashti.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. As the Trinidad and Tobago Chamber of Industry and Commerce, we are proud to stand as a partner in the launch of the 2024 Trinidad and Tobago Corporate Governance Code, a pivotal moment for corporate governance in our country. This new code represents a progressive step forward, building upon the foundation laid in 2013, and highlights the importance of strong governance practices in promoting transparency, accountability, and sustainability across organizations. The Chamber has been a committed partner since the inception of this project through our COO, Michelle Sweet, and we are particularly proud of the collaborative efforts that have brought us to this significant milestone. The launch of this updated code provides an invaluable framework for organizations of all sizes to enhance their governance structures, which is essential for fostering sustainable growth locally and internationally and ensuring ethical leadership. Our involvement alongside the Caribbean Corporate Governance Institute and other key stakeholders reflects our commitment to supporting businesses in Trinidad and Tobago as they strive to adopt and implement these best practices. We believe that by encouraging organizations to embrace the principles within the code, we are promoting a culture of transparency and adaptability that will strengthen not only individual businesses, but also will enable our businesses to abide by international best practice and standards, thereby leading to firm competitiveness. It's not countries that compete, it's firms. Together, we are laying the groundwork for a more resilient and accountable corporate landscape in Trinidad and Tobago. In closing, kudos to my friend, CEO Kamla Rampersad de Silva and the Board of Directors of the CCGI.
Thank you very much, Gayatri. And now we come to the feature address from Mr. Ronnie Bissessar, SC, Chairman of the Working Group and member of the Steering Committee. Ronnie is no stranger to us. He's an attorney at law in private practice, head of the Chamber's lawgivers. As can be seen from the details included in the agenda, he has served in numerous leadership capacities in respect of both governmental and non-governmental organizations, charities, and philanthropies. He's a former chair of the Caribbean Corporate Governance Institute and present chairman of the Working Group and member of the Steering Committee. Ronnie.
Thank you, Faye, for your kind and generous welcome. I thought I'd come a little bit quickly so that it would be not necessary for her to give the bio. But thank you so much, all of you, for being here, and Kamla for encouraging us to adopt a fairly informal approach to what is no doubt a very formal proceedings. The Trinidad and Tobago Corporate Governance Code 2024, unlike the 2013 version, applies to all forms of business enterprise. That is to say, the new code applies equally to private and public companies, SMEs, state agencies, not-for-profits, NGOs, charities, family-owned businesses, membership organizations, sporting and recreational clubs, and everything in between. These different forms of business enterprise are referred to in the 2024 code as simply organizations. And it is able to do so because it describes the organization's controller whether it be a board of directors, executive committee, or managing partners, as universally the governing body, and in fact, the governing body is accountable to the organization and its owners with oversight responsibilities for its management, sustainability, and of course, enduring value creation. A corporate governance framework which permeates this new code has therefore walked a very fine line, balancing the interest of stakeholders, whether they be shareholders, management, customers, regulators, government, or the public, with what is, in fact, the best interest of the organization. In this way, the new code harmonizes with Section 99 of the Companies Act, and in particular, the use of the word owner. And the word owner is used to describe what is otherwise known as shareholders, beneficial owners, or members. It does no violence to the legislation and underpins that the governing body is accountable to the owner or owners. Whether the 2024 code succeeds in its broad intent is therefore a matter that we will confront in future postmortems. But for today's presentation, I wish to briefly highlight what I believe are 4 important points as they relate to the 2024 code. The first point is that the 5 key principles in the 2013 code have now cascaded to 4 foundational principles, namely, firstly, governing body effectiveness, secondly, oversight and accountability, thirdly, stakeholder and disclosures, fourthly, corporate sustainability, ethics, and enduring value creation. The phrase foundational principle was deliberately chosen by the working committee. Principles, in fact, foundational principles, were regarded as being of a higher order with more gravitas and authority than mere principles, practices, or guidelines. Significantly, the 2024 code describes these foundational principles as representing high-level concepts on the basis that there should be adherence to their spirit and intendment, very much like entrenched constitutional rights, for instance. You cannot discern, much less observe, this spirit and intendment in, for instance, practices or guidelines, hence foundational principles. The other advantage of having foundational principles is that they, by the mere fact and use of the language, appeal to a higher order of ethical behavior, being grounded in conduct rather than outcome. They are also aspirational, and because the 2024 code uses language which is neutral and jargon-free, the provisions are plain and succinct. None of the grayness which commercial lawyers insist upon to permit maximum wiggle room. It may be the subject of debate as to whether, in fact, there is a difference between key principles as used in the 2013 code and foundational principles which we use in the 2024 code. I have in my own mind resolved the conflict on the basis that the much wider scope of the 2024 version means that it is necessary, perhaps even essential, to simplify rather than overcomplicate the organization's governance structure. The second point which I wish to underscore is that while the 2024 code is voluntary, as our chair has reminded us, all organizations are invited to implement it on a comply or explain basis. In other words, the 4 foundational principles should be applied unconditionally, or an explanation is required for a material departure. Comply or explain conveys more mandatory intent, in my respectful view, than the permissiveness inherent in apply or explain, which was the model used in the 2013 code. Having said that, we must be alive to some of the limitations in comply or explain. And to that extent, I am indebted to Dr. Chris Pearce, who was closely associated with the Caribbean Corporate Governance Institute in its early days, and who in fact conducted its first Train the Trainers program, that was in 2014. Dr. Pearce, in a paper delivered in Vienna on the 19th of May 2015, made the point that good governance should be evaluated against principles rather than practices, and suggested that a comply or explain approach may lead to an organization claiming it has achieved good governance merely because the recommended principles are followed. He explained, for example, that the composition of a board may be described as well-structured because it has the required proportion of independent directors, even though other attributes such as subject matter expertise or experience is lacking. Comply or explain can also be unfavorably compared, for instance, with the methodology used in the United States of America, where, for instance, the Sarbanes-Oxley Act in 2002 and the Dodd-Frank Wall Street Reform and Consumer Protection Act in 2010. Many of you here would be aware of both of them. The former was passed as a result of the financial scandals, including Enron and WorldCom, while the latter was a statutory response to the global financial crises in 2009 and 2010. Both are mandatory, which means that they are comply or else models. The comply or explain model, which is what is used in the 2024 code, is recommended here, and it means that organizations will be required to apply all 4 foundational principles or explain in the various reports to the owners why they have not been applied. The working committee would have perhaps preferred a comply and explain model. That is to say, compliance with an explanation as to how governance has improved. We were, however, and remain very much alive to the fact that the 2024 code is neither mandatory nor prescriptive, and every governing body has to decide how to apply each foundational principle or to give an explanation for material departures. And I underscore the word material rather than mere or cosmetic departures. And these explanations should not be evaluated in a ritualistic, mechanistic, or box-ticking manner. They should be real and meaningful. More importantly, material departures from the foundational principles, while not being treated purely as breaches, should not be easily tolerated by owners and stakeholders, particularly where, as here, we are operating on a principle-based, not rule-based model. This is in the context that a mere slap on the wrist erodes the notion of a principle-based system of rules and encourages cherry-picking of easy, low-hanging fruit. Principles, in my respectful view, however high up the tree, should not be regarded as a utopia too far to reach. Which brings me to my third point, and it is this. The 2024 code contemplates the advent here in the Caribbean of the enlightened shareholder or enlightened owner, who is no longer attracted only to high dividends, but wishes to be associated with high-value, progressive, and public-spirited organizations which are not only openly prepared to adopt the 2024 code, but with justification to boast about it, and which to a discerning investor permits a premium to be placed on the value of the share. In a seminal work in 2022, Stop the Rot, the chair referred to him, Bob Garrett identified the 3 organizational values consistent with the enlightened owner principle, and you'll be familiar with them. Firstly, accountability, secondly, probity, and thirdly, transparency. Garrett makes the point that without these 3 organizational values, an organization is not credible to its clients and customers. And of course, without credibility, can it be sustained whether in the medium or long term? In other words, adherence to these 3 organizational values is the most effective way to achieve and maintain business continuity. What this means in the context of the 2024 code is that the governing body will have to regularly monitor and assess their organization's values and cultures. And this assessment ought to be incorporated into its regular annual reporting process by giving examples of their use and the metrics so that baselines are developed against which future performances are measured. Let me, however, be very clear. While I'm not advocating for the retirement of the vision and mission statements and the various characters that go with those, I am suggesting that the many hours of precious governing body time wasted, as well as the vast consultancies and payments spent in finessing the language to fit into a suitable organizational future, which no one knows, much less cares about, will be better spent in assessing how far, or better yet, how close is the organization to achieving each of the Code's foundational principles, and what realistic timelines with the appropriate resources may be applied to achieve the targets. And this brings me to my fourth observation, which is that the 2024 Code cannot be described as corporate governance bricolage. The word bricolage, spelled B-R-I-C-O-L-A-G-E, was introduced to me only 2 weeks ago by Professor Tracy Robinson, who gave the keynote address at the Law Association's dinner. She reminded us that it was coined by Mark Tishnut, a Canadian constitutional scholar, to explain how constitutions are made. He suggested that framers merely reached into a bag and used the first thing they pull out that happens to fit the immediate problem, hence the expression bricolage constitutions. The point I wish to make, however, lest I be misunderstood, is that the Working Committee did not consider or use bricolage to devise the 2024 Code. Ours was a much more cerebral, organic, and systematic construction. That is, however, not to say that we behaved like engineers, using inductive reasoning, perhaps I should say deductive reasoning, sorting through the concepts and assembling them in an orderly manner according to an overarching conceptual theme. No, it was much more chaotic than that, with a working committee whose composition permitted 15 different interests and perspectives to be presented, sometimes at the same time, so that passionate voices were raised in unison, supporting this or demolishing that foundational principle. Having said that, the Working Committee did not, and I repeat, does not want its product to reflect compromise. Rather, they wanted it to be regarded as an amalgamation of these different views, which would then be filtered through a wide-ranging, intensive, and exhaustive stakeholder consultation before being perfected for launch today. In my view, having come through this very searching, consultative process relatively unscathed, the Working Committee and the 2024 Code may have achieved its desired objective. The real test, however, lies on future acceptance. I am mindful, however, of Ralph Carnegie's comment in relation to constitutions, which applies, in my view, equally to codes and bylaws. And that is that we cannot do without a constitution, but it is impossible to make a good one. He describes it as an unending experiment. To that end, if I may be so bold, the steering committee may consider inviting the working group to recommend, perhaps every 2 or 3 years, adjustments to keep the 2024 Code fresh and relevant. Finally, I wish to leave you with this thought. While it is not possible, notwithstanding the Integrity in Public Life Act, to legislate for integrity, we must find a means of determining objectively whether an organization's governance is driven by ethical conduct. This requires governance to be measured against a scale which rewards ethical leadership but penalizes unethical conduct. But whatever that measurement, there must be role for a regulator, someone who determines whether ours is a passing or a failing grade. For public companies, we have the Securities and Exchange Commission, but we have none for other types of organizations. And it may be that the time has come for a local equivalent of the UK's Financial Reporting Council, the FRC, which is an independent regulator responsible for promoting high-quality corporate governance and reporting. In 2010, many of you may know, the FRC reviewed the UK Combined Code and renamed it the UK Corporate Governance Code, which was revamped in 2018. And that set standards of good practice in relation to board leadership and effectiveness, remuneration, accountability, and stakeholder relationships. While the FRC is for public companies, it is possible, in my respectful view, and in a local context, for it to function as a regulator in relation to all organizations. But until such time that we have rule-based codes and statutorily underpinned regulators, akin to an FRC, for instance, self-regulation is the underlying theme. This means that compliance is voluntary, and as Bob Tricker said in the 3rd edition of Corporate Governance, and this is at page 150, he said, codes of corporate governance principles determine board responsibilities, not the rule of law. It seems to me that as responsible stewards of corporate behavior, the Working Committee contemplates that the 2024 code requires us to police ourselves because it is, after all, a voluntary code. There is, however, and this is, if you'll permit me a very personal perspective, there is, however, no room in any organization in which I have a role, and I suspect the same applies to most, if not all of you, for conduct that materially collides or conflicts with the 2024 code. It means, or it must mean, that the buck stops with you and me to arrest unethical conduct by speaking out about it, and if you and I don't, then we condone it. We cannot have it both ways. Thank you so very much.
Thank you so much, Ronnie. I think we all need to go back and read the code again with those principles and insights in mind. But I think it is very grateful to have those special insights. I would now like to ask our CEO, Kamla, to close off this morning's proceedings. Did I catch you at a bad time? Just wetting her whistle. Yes. Kamla.
Thank you so much, Faye. I know you would have seen on the agenda that we had a Q&A session now, but I think the whole proceedings is flowing so smoothly. It's better we bring it to a close, and then we can engage in some networking and any Q&A that you may have, okay? So it's my absolute pleasure to bring this morning's opening session to a close. And as we started informally, because I know I usually have some faults in some things, I will start by saying we do have another director of CCGI present. I know I saw her this morning, Karen Keltrally. Karen, if you are here, all right, well, so Karen and Ian, we are so glad that you also took time to share with us this morning. And I would think from all indicators that today was a tremendous success, and I want to thank all of you for contributing to this. And as a small measure of our token, you are all allowed to take away your CCGI coffee mugs. and just to share, for the members of our working committee, we do also have the straws that goes with those lovely tumblers that were prepared for you. So you do have a takeaway box with the steel straws, okay, which you could collect from our admin team. Now, along with thanking everyone, I also want to take a few minutes to share on the findings of our team with respect to the disclosure and ranking project, which is done in collaboration with the Arthur Lockjack Global School of Business and QED Consulting. Many of the companies that are listed on the stock exchange are here today, so we will keep you in suspense for a few minutes before giving those results. At the moment, though, I want us to reflect on and thank everyone who contributed to this tremendous milestone today. We begin with the steering committee, and I extend special appreciation to all those persons. Faye Lopez Collymore, as I said, Faye accompanied me to a meeting at the stock exchange in July of 2019, my first month as CEO of CCGI. We met then with the then CEO, Amoy Van Loo, showing that this project has been a priority of ours since then. Faye has continued in providing that support, and she has served well as chair to keep us all on track to today's milestone. So thank you so much again, Faye. And although you are no longer a director on CCGI, having served your 3 terms, we look forward to your continued support in helping us champion the code for adoption. Many thanks to Eva Mitchell, current CEO of the Trinidad and Tobago Stock Exchange. Eva, we understand how busy you are, but you made time to include this project in your busy schedule, and we look forward to working with you in taking this a step further again. The next stage really is to follow the steps of Professor Mervyn King in having where the Johannesburg Stock Exchange was the first in the world to make sustainability reporting mandatory requirements for listing. We look forward to ensuring that the code today reflects some of these elements as well, and working with the Stock Exchange in this respect. Very special appreciation too to Michelle Gonzalez-Sweet. Michelle, you showed tremendous leadership at a time that the Chamber was facing some critical changes and transitions with its CEO. We appreciate the deep commitment you showed to ensure the Chamber's participation in this exercise. At the same time, we also want to extend warm wishes to Vashti Guyadeen as she takes up this key role as CEO of the Chamber. We believe in you, Vashti, and we know that you will make a tremendous success of this job. Much has already been said of the dedication of the Working Committee. My hope today is that you feel the love and appreciation we have for you and your commitment to serving our society. And I also hope that you would love reading Professor Mervyn King's book as much as I did. It's really incredible, the journey that he went through, and there's so much that we can follow and learn from it. And you know, there's a saying that hard work gets rewarded by more hard work. I like the recommendation of our Working Committee chairman that this committee be retained to review the code every 2 years. So this would be something that I will take forward to our board for consideration, and no doubt the board will be very much in favor of us taking this action step. So you could look forward to more work ahead. In the interim, though, we do have a big task ahead of us to encourage adoption and use of this code. It is a challenge I look forward to because I think it can only bring great rewards for better governance practices and improved performance of our organizations. So I would also like to express appreciation to the members of the media who are online with us today. Your task is to help us in getting the information out and build awareness of the critical work that lies ahead. So we look forward to partnering with you in this endeavor. Many thanks as well to the Chamber team who assisted us with today's event. Thank you, Claudia and Ellis, who was here this morning with us. Thank you too to the catering company, Appleville. I hope all of you enjoyed the delicious breakfast which they prepared for us this morning. Thank you to our decor team, Lara Lee Linens Designs. She did a fabulous job after a last-minute call. So thank you to Rachel Lee. Special thanks to Vincent Lopez and his team for photos and videography today. And hopefully our live streaming has been going well, so everyone is able to join us. A very special thank you to the chairman of CCGI, Mr. Nigel Romano. I have no hesitation in telling people I love my chairman. His leadership has been so important to the success of the turnaround of this institute. His full support has never wavered, despite the crazy risks we take sometimes and the impossible schedules, which you all know, you get the emails every day. Nigel makes the time to be present, and whenever he is needed, he renders assistance. And I wish you could see, I put that in bold, he renders assistance. He is so suited to the role of chairman of this institute, and we are blessed to have him. My last bit of appreciation is reserved for my small CCGI admin support team. This event was happening at a critical time when we are also planning the final stages for execution of our 5th annual global conference, as well as the planning of our week of activities in Guyana. I am deeply appreciative of their support to ensure that everything we do at CCGI appears effortless and seamless so that we give everyone a good experience. We are small in size, but big in stature. And this is due in large part to the hard work and commitment that you give in doing your best in reflecting our CCGI value system. So thank you, Laura Sinanan, Jacqueline Deschaussee, and my son, Quentrell de Silva. Your work is much appreciated. And as I mentioned, our 5th global conference earlier, let me take this marketing moment. Thank you very much to Angostura Limited for bronze sponsorship for our 5th global conference. I would like to encourage our organizations who are present here today to also lend their support. Your letters are already in your mailboxes. And now we come to the final big moment of the day. This is to release the ranking of the companies that are listed on the Trinidad and Tobago Stock Exchange in terms of their level of disclosure and transparency. It is the last time this exercise will be done in this format, since the ranking was done in relation to the previous code. From next year, we would have an entirely new matrix in alignment with the 2024 code. Some of the elements, however, may remain. For instance, this ranking looked at whether companies shared information on their governance framework, on independence of board members and the committees they serve, as well as their commitment in the frequency of attendance by directors to those meetings. We also looked for information that the board have conducted an evaluation exercise to improve board performance and whether this was done at the level of directors as well. The exercise captured a range of other elements too, such as identification of the principal risks facing the organization and involvement of the organization to matters relating to sustainability, which many refer to in their ESG report. Finally, I want to share that this has been an ongoing exercise of the Arthur Lockjack Global School of Business, which released its first ranking report in collaboration with the Rothman Business School of University of Toronto. Dr. Ron Sukram, who was the project lead for this exercise, then served as director here at CCGI. So we were pleased to support Ron in getting this project off the ground, along with Joanne Salazar, who was also a director of CCGI at the time, and who herself is extremely passionate about governance. When we released the ranking report in 2022, the top 3 performing companies then were NCB, NCB Jamaica, JMMB Group, and Massey. We have seen a huge improvement in many of the top companies in advancing more disclosures than seen previously, and we are heartened by this. This exercise again included Dr. Ron Sukram and Joanne Salazar, who is now a director of QED Consulting, and I thank them for their hard work. So now for the scores of the top 10 companies listed on the stock exchange based on their annual reports of 2023. So we had 2 companies tying for first place. Massey Holdings continued to retain its position among the top. And they were joined by First Citizens Group. And what followed was another tie by 3 companies now for third place. Scotiabank, Grace Kennedy, and the NCB Financial Group. So that's already the top 5 companies ranking based on their disclosures. Scotiabank, that's listed in the Trinidad and Tobago Stock Exchange. So in 6th place then, we again had a tie, and this time another 2 financial institutions, JMMB Group and Republic Bank. Ansa McCall came in 8th place, followed by First Caribbean International Bank in 9th, and Guyadeen Holdings in 10th place, all coming together to be the top 10 companies ranked on the Trinidad and Tobago Stock Exchange. Congratulations to every one of these companies. In many instances, the separation was by 0.5. So really excellent work done by the companies. So while the assessment was done on the basis of what was written in the annual reports, I really want to commend all of the members of these organizations, because we could see the hard work that went into operationalizing and executing many excellent initiatives, and a great desire was seen for improvement in boardroom practices. So of course we would want to continue this exercise, because this level of transparency and disclosure, when you do read Professor Mervyn King's book, you would see is so fundamental to us truly being able to improve our governance practices. So this brings us to the end of today's formal session. May I extend an invitation to all of you to stay back for a few minutes of networking. We do still have some refreshments, so let us engage in a few moments of fellowship as well. Thank you all.